Long before synthetic fabrics promised warmth in the world's harshest environments, Arctic peoples had already perfected the art of survival through materials that modern science is only now beginning to fully understand. Picture yourself standing on the wind-scoured ice of the Arctic Ocean, where temperatures plunge to 40 below, and gales howl with enough force to strip flesh from bone. In this merciless landscape, the difference between life and death came down to what you wore against your skin. For 4,000 years, the Inuit, Yupik, and coastal peoples of the circumpolar world relied on a material so ingenious, so perfectly adapted to extreme cold, that it outperformed early 20th century expedition gear by a staggering margin. That material was the translucent, waterproof membrane of marine mammal intestines, sewn into parkas lighter than the smartphone in your pocket, yet capable of turning back Arctic storms that sent European explorers to frozen graves. The intestine parka, known as a kaspek or gutskin, represents one of humanity's most elegant solutions to environmental extremity. Women would carefully harvest the intestines of seals, walruses, or whales immediately after a hunt, then begin the meticulous process of cleaning and splitting the membrane lengthwise. Each intestine, once prepared, became a translucent strip that could be sewn together with others to create a garment. The natural structure of this tissue created a one-way moisture barrier that allowed perspiration vapor to escape while blocking wind and water from penetrating inward. This breathability was revolutionary. When Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen reached the South Pole in 1911, he attributed much of his success to adopting Inuit clothing techniques, while Robert Falcon Scott's British expedition, weighed down by heavy wool and canvas that absorbed moisture and froze solid, ended in tragedy. The lesson was written in ice and blood-natural materials refined through millennia of lived experience, outperformed the industrial confidence of empire. But the gutskin parka was only the outer shell of a sophisticated layering system. Beneath it, Arctic peoples wore caribou hide, a material whose properties bordered on the miraculous. Each caribou hair is hollow, creating thousands of tiny air-filled chambers that trap body heat while remaining remarkably lightweight. The air spaces within individual hairs work in concert with the air pockets between hairs, creating an insulation system that remains unmatched by most modern synthetics. Hunters understood that caribou taken in early winter, when their coats had thickened for the coming cold, provided the finest material. They wore these hides with the fur turned inward against the skin, allowing body heat to warm the trapped air while the outer hide provided wind resistance. A second layer, worn fur outward, created additional dead air space between the garments. This wasn't primitive clothing, it was engineering refined across countless generations of Arctic winters. The final genius lay in the details. Seams were sewn with caribou sinew, a thread that swells when wet to create completely watertight barriers. Seal oil, rendered from blubber, was carefully applied to these seams on intestine garments, creating a flexible, waterproof seal that remained supple even in brutal cold. Fish oils kept leather components from freezing stiff, a technique Vikings had also discovered during their own northern voyages. Every element worked in harmony, the breathable outer layer preventing dangerous moisture build-up, the insulating inner layers trapping warmth, and the sealed construction blocking the wind that could steal body heat with lethal efficiency. Modern researchers studying polar bear fur have discovered, interestingly enough, that similar principles are at work, with hollow fibers directing and trapping radiant heat. These findings have inspired new light-harvesting fabrics, showing that, honestly, the best innovations often come from studying what nature and traditional knowledge have already perfected. The story of Arctic clothing carries profound implications for anyone serious about preparedness and self-reliance. These garments emerged from necessity, refined through thousands of winters where mistakes meant death and wisdom meant survival. They remind us that, honestly, the most effective solutions often come from working with natural materials and understanding their properties deeply, rather than just assuming modern synthetics are inherently superior. In our age of gear obsession and technological dependence, there's something, humbling and instructive about recognizing that a seal intestine parka sewn by lamplight in an icehouse could actually outperform a 20th century expedition's entire textile industry. The Fieldcraft lies not in the gear itself, but in the knowledge of how to select, prepare, and combine materials for specific challenges. That knowledge, passed from elder to young through demonstration and practice, represents a form of wealth that no amount of money could purchase, and no catastrophe could completely destroy. If this journey into Arctic survival wisdom has sparked your curiosity about forgotten techniques and time-tested knowledge, subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles. Share this video with anyone who understands that true preparedness comes from knowledge, not just equipment. The skills that kept humans alive in Earth's harshest environments deserve to be remembered, studied, and adapted for whatever challenges tomorrow might bring.